Okay. Okay. Welcome, people. Welcome to the live stream. All right. Let's see. Put that over here. Alexa, turn down the volume a couple notches. The AC/DC. Okay, guys. Real serious now. It's time. Very close to time. Okay, and we're going to talk about everything we know right now about what's going on, as well as some things you need to be doing now here shortly. One thing I've been doing is moving some electronic devices that weren't in the bunker that I was out using into the bunker, because I have no idea when the EMP is going to get here, whether that's a matter of days or hours. Hopefully we have more time than less, okay? And we're going to talk about what all that means and why I say things like that here in a moment. So like, like my chainsaw was up in my garage. I want to have a chainsaw if the apocalypse, so now it's down here where it's safe from EMP. So I was going to set this down here for now. That's an empty box. I brought a Nintendo DS that I had been playing down here. Keep that safe. Obviously the Geiger counter. I already have a CPAP or two in here, but I had another extra one upstairs. Made sure to bring this down here so it remains functional after the EMP. So I just threw all this stuff in here, so I'm just going to kind of tuck it away for now. And we're going to get talking about what we know about what's going on. I just wanted to clear my space. So like my little battery jump box, went ahead and brought this down from the garage to keep it safe. That was the power station. Okay, so as you can tell, I'm a little bit in go mode with some of this stuff. Just a little bit, because like I've always promised you, I'll be here till the end, till we can't anymore, right? So I'm also keeping you guys in mind. I've taken some time today to write out a really a written, thought out assessment on my blog on prepzone.org for those of you who prefer to read or want some more details right in front of you in your own page. You can check that out, prepzone.org. Scroll down on the home page. But I'm going to go through most of what I said here, but I might forget some of what I wrote down. And I've also learned some more information since the time of writing that, because this is a developing story, and right before getting on the live, I got as up to date as possible with what's available online currently. Okay, so guys, first and foremost, information is really important, so you should listen to this live, but also if you have things you need to do where you can listen and do those things at the same time, I'd recommend you go ahead and do that. Thanks for the likes. I did just get off a ban on here as well, just in time. And I said at the time, a week ago when the ban happened, something big's about to happen. Because last time I had one of these sketchy bans, it was right before the invasion started. We're lucky. It worked out, so it took them a little bit of time for this to happen. Okay? So, this is something most of you probably haven't heard about what's going on, is that Article 4 has been enacted by Poland. That is not Article 5. Article 5 is World War III. Article 4 is what leads up to Article 5 being declared. Okay, so what is Article 4 of the NATO treaty? Article 4 means that any country within NATO can call a meeting with all of the other countries to then decide if it's time to enact Article 5, which, if you don't know what Article 5 is, it means World War III. But essentially, Article 5 means that a thing happening, I don't want to care with my language, a thing happening to one member of NATO happens to all the members of NATO, and they're responding kind, i.e. World War III. Okay, now, okay, take a breath, all right? It is my hope that we have more time than it may seem. Why do I say that? Well, first of all, it seems to me that everybody in charge, in terms of NATO, they are taking a moment to breathe and to assess, okay? Now, that's good for you and me. Time is our friend, okay? Time is what we read right now. So, here's what most likely is going to happen. All right, but first let's examine what we know so far about what took place, okay? Today, Russia has been launching hundreds, it's a major air campaign of these rockets, okay? To take out infrastructure and civilian targets in Ukraine. Now, one of these hundreds, and keep in mind 79 or so about of 100 out today, were brought down by the Ukrainian forces in defense, okay? One of the ones of the 100 that launched went 15 miles into Polish territory. And it struck a farm, and it unfortunately took 2 people's lives, Polish citizens, okay? Just farmers, I assume, all right? I do have some photos from the ground that I'm not sure if I should share here. But definitely let me know. Maybe I'll throw them on prepzone.org or whatever, or somewhere. I'm not sure if it's good, but they're not really graphic. But let's not take any chances with everything that's gone on with the account, because like I said, I'm going to do my best to be here for you until they take that ability away from me. Okay? Now, it's going to get bad. Yeah, it is. So, anyway, so Russia launched this reckless civilian targeting campaign. And as Ukraine has been telling us this whole time, is eventually one of those is going to miss and go into NATO. And that's what's taking place today. Now, one thing they're trying to determine on the ground in situation is to try to determine, was this intentional? Was this an accident? I think it appears obvious that this was in some ways an accident. They did not intend to strike a random farm in Poland. And that does matter, but it also doesn't matter. Okay? It doesn't matter because it still took place. All right? You could look at it like this. Okay? Perhaps it is an accident. Perhaps it's an intentional act designed to look like an accident as a form of a test. Okay? What happens if we did this? Right? Now, if it is a test, and even if it's not, a lack of a serious response emboldens Russia to then do something worse, which would require an actual response, theoretically, and then it's an escalation process from there. Now, keep in mind, from a strategic standpoint, as somebody who wants to win a war, okay, I would understand that not slapping them down right now just means it's going to happen later. Okay, you're kicking the can down the road and you're allowing for an escalation process to take place up until something really bad versus doing something really bad right away. Okay, which might be a more military strategic decision, and so we might end up going that way, because if you know where it's headed, you want to preempt that. However, for you and me, as preppers, as individuals who just want to survive, what we want to happen is for NATO to take a sissy response, basically, a weak response to this, because what that will give us is time as that escalation plays out. Okay, so while it's technically a strategic misstep for NATO to do that, it is in line with their past actions that we may see things like sanctions, we may see loud protests or whatever, all these things predicated on the fact that they prove and announce that it was accidental, which it appears to have been. Okay, if it was intentional, it's a different story. Now, the problem is Russia denies that it happened. Right? So it's hard for them to then come and say, well, it was an accident if you say it never happened, right? So they've kind of backed themselves into a corner, and the language Russia is using is that us saying this is provoking things, making things worse, even though, like, guys, the United States government and a lot of private companies and a ton of things have satellites. They have, I'm sure we don't have it, you and me, but they have a video of this coming from them and going where it went. Like, they have satellites watching Ukraine at all times. It's on video somewhere. So they know. Everyone knows. It's just the public that gets lied to. Okay? They know exactly what happened. Right? So what we want to have happen is for them to take a weak response. NATO take a weak response now. If they even think that they're going to take a heavy response, what's going to happen is a preemptive response to our response from Russia. That's going to be extreme. Okay? We're talking about Europe and mainland US experiencing WMDs more than likely. EMP, as I spoke about at the beginning of this, would be they've already been talking about seeing one of those used in Ukraine. We can also see escalation of the technology being used in Ukraine as a result of this, because as we get closer to Article 5, the less they care. As it becomes more of a certainty, the less they care about triggering it. And that makes it more of a certainty. I have completely unbacked up hope that somehow we'll find a way to peace. But logically, I have no path to get there from here, unfortunately. I can hold on to hope and hold on to things unknown helping us. But that's all it is a want for hope and letting it fill that void where really the logic tells us there's only one way this is going to go in the end. There's a number of paths to that endpoint, but the endpoint's the same. And that's total nuclear Armageddon, basically. A lot of steps in between, necessarily. Or, if they all decide we know where this is headed, let's get it over with, it might not be so many steps. Right? Guys, this is as upset as I get about this kind of stuff. I'll put it that way. Or as concerned, right? You know, thanks for the gifts. I am a Stoic. I study Stoic philosophy, and I am quite a master of my own inner citadel in a lot of ways, my inner self. And put it like this. This is the closest to afraid that you're going to see me, okay? About this stuff. You know, I've said it before, and I think it's true, that preparation is how you remove fear. And I am prepared. And so I'm still able to be kind of calm, but like my concern level is high. It's very high. Why would it be World War III? Because they've already enacted Article 4. And they're deciding whether or not to enact Article 5. And if they don't, then they will next time. And there will be a next time if they don't. I guarantee you. Accident or not, it's become a test. You understand? If it was a test or not from the begin with, it's become one. Obviously, there was no strategic value in this move, unless it was a test or an accident. But either which way. How soon should we know? Article 5 means that if somebody goes in and hurts one NATO country, all NATO countries go to war with that person and defend that country, basically, including the United States. And here's something to keep in mind that you can read on my full assessment on prepzone.org. But Joseph Biden's going to be in charge of all of this. As much as we want to make it look like NATO or whatever, ultimately, what we say is going to happen, even we may take them under consideration in NATO's countries' opinions, right? But ultimately, the decision maker in all of this is Joseph Biden, and you can decide how comfortable you are with that, all right? We are in charge of NATO, not on paper, but in reality, in terms of the forces, in terms of just power. We are in charge, and our president is in charge, okay? So Joseph Biden is going to make the decisions that will or will not, but I think there's only one path to World War III, and you can decide what that means for you, okay? I don't know. In some ways, I'm glad, because I have a suspicion that it will be a weaker response than might be called for. And like I said before, we want them to give a weak response so that we have time. A hard response means there's no time. Okay? Now here's the other part. As soon as they decide to make a hard response, before they announce it to the world, before they do it, and keep in mind, they're going to do it before they tell you about it, right? That's how military actions work at that level. Before they announce it to the world, Russia will know immediately. Okay? Russian espionage, basically, will have them knowing what NATO intends to do before they do it. What does that mean? What that means is that once Russia has the go-ahead, okay, they're going to have a hard response, soft response. Russia can preemptively roll out their hard or soft response. Okay? So before we even have a chance, because that's the smart thing to do if you're Russia. Okay? You get the information, you act first. All right? So, and you act hard, all right? You act really hard as they can, all right? There's a lot of things they can do, all right? I'm of the belief that they have gained intelligence that they should have never had, okay? In regards to our locations of our nuclear assets, our allies' nuclear assets, and more importantly, I believe they know roughly where our nuclear submarines are, which is the spear of our arsenal in that regard, okay? And now we also know that Russia has the Poseidon nuke, which if you don't know, will make, I think people say as high as 1,200 foot tall tsunamis, but also that's on like a coastline and well into the coastline, obviously with that height. But also, if you use one of those anywhere near, like hundreds of miles near where one of our submarines are located, if you do it right, those submarines are no longer a danger to Russia. Okay, the tip of our spear could be cut off preemptively with these Poseidons. Now, there is some propaganda out there about their readiness with those. I would guarantee you that that's not true, that these are ready, okay? And keep in mind, in World War II, how much did the general public know about our nuke technology until they were used? Very little. And there are technologies out there today that you have never heard of that are just as revolutionary as the nuke was in 1945. And you won't hear about them until they are used. Okay? One thing that's never been used that people know about is a neutron B word. What that does is it doesn't ruin the infrastructure or like destroy things. It melts you. And then it leaves everything clear for the next guy to come in and be perfectly healthy and fine. It destroys organic matter, basically. It turns the energy of that, instead of a destructive force for everything, into destroying life, basically. That exists and is completely banned in the whole world. You can't even like test those because it's such a horrible device. But both the US and Russia have those, okay? And then they have other things that I don't know about too, I'm sure. All right, terrible, terrible things that none of us know about. And you won't know about them until they're used. And they get used when people are desperate in a war, just like in World War II. We were desperate, and the Japanese people were never going to surrender unless we did what we did. That's what we all learned in history class. It was our desperate move to end the war, okay? We're going to see other desperate moves to end this war. Sorry, all right? But so I think we're going to have some time. I think NATO is going to take the light response to start off. I don't know that for sure. I hope. That's the hope coming into play. That's the hope biasing me, but also the history up until now. But I also acknowledge the possibility that they see the same writing on the wall as me. The B-52 flying over the Dakotas, going on the map. Things are going nuts right now, guys. You don't hear about this stuff until it's done. Like, our military is moving, okay? NATO is doing stuff that you don't know about right now, and I couldn't give you the details of it, but I just know that they have plans for exactly this scenario because everybody's been talking about it, and those plans are in movement, and they're keeping it somewhat hush-hush from the general public, even though we know that Russia probably knows everything that's going on, okay? No, this is my bunker. I'll show you. Woo! See, I can move the camera. Boop, there's Wilson and post-apocalyptic blockbuster. I dropped my phone holder. So, like I said, guys, now, woo, sorry, you're like plugged into a charger, so like I'm balanced on top of this big sticking part of the charger. Like I told you guys, I'm gonna do my best to be here for you. We have 9 E4 airborne as of an hour ago. Okay, and so also China comes into play because it's an opportunity, their best shot. If things heat up and we're distracted, that's their chance to take Taiwan. Honestly, we might let them. At that point. Depends. We might let them try. Honestly, with that, Taiwan will give them a hell of a fight, guys. A hell of a fight on their own with everything that they've built up and that we've helped them build up. And especially if we're able to get them, like how we've done in Ukraine, sending them things. If we're able to at least do that, it's going to be a similar situation. Now, the Chinese military is a force to be reckoned with and respected compared to the Russian military, okay? Ours is better, I believe. But theirs is a serious, and I mean better in principle. Doesn't mean we'll win. But in terms of, like, if you look how big of a joke Russia's military actually turned out to be, now that we see it in action, 100,000 of them gone from a tiny little country like Ukraine, and like they're not even paying their military anymore. And I want to talk a little bit about that too and what that implies to this current situation. But like, the similar thing might happen with Taiwan, at least to hold them off while we're busy in the European theater. My advice is let's not open up a Pacific theater in this war if we can help it. Let's appease China during this, okay? Deal with them after the fact, maybe if we survive, you know? That's what they want. I don't think if they have the impression that we're going to let them, like we're going to focus on what we got to focus on, we don't like what you're doing, but I'm sorry, we're busy, basically. Like, if we don't overextend ourselves and we can keep China happy, okay? Look, guys, if I was in charge right now, okay, and we actually had a World War III situation, I might make some hard decisions. I don't want China entering the war on the other side. Okay? If that means that we have to step away from Taiwan, again, not help them hurt Taiwan, but just let them do their own thing. Stay out of it. If that's the agreement we have to come to get their help with the Russia situation and to help stop the end of the world, if we have to sacrifice Taiwan to save the world, I think the Taiwanese wouldn't agree. But if I was a leader in charge of everybody in the world's or everybody in America's life, that's the decision I would have to make. Because ultimately, if it's the people you're responsible for or some other group of people, I feel like you have to stand up for your own people. And I'm not sure that the current American government would think about it that way, by the way. And not to be super America first, but at the end of the day, it's us and ours or them and theirs in some of these situations, unfortunately, I think. And so while I support their struggle and stuff over there, and in a perfect world, I might be, in favor of helping them. If it come down to it and we're busy in Europe, no. But that's probably not how it would play out. But imagine if we made that deal and China was on our side in that, What could the US and China and Europe together do to stop Russia from launching the nukes or WMDs? I don't know. But I got to think it's a better shot than just us in Europe, right? If China is committed to our side because we gave them something they want, now, that's a big price for us because of the chip manufacturing. And that's really what it's about. We're very selfish about it. It's not about the Taiwanese people. It's about the chips, the computer chips, which, if you haven't noticed, we've shifted to starting making those a lot here. They've opened up a plant in Ohio and a few other places to make what they're making in Taiwan because I think they anticipate that we'll lose Taiwan eventually. But so here's a scenario that I think is interesting, if not changing anything. So we know that from the perspective of a conscripted, drafted Russian soldier, this sucks. This whole experience sucks. That's why so many of them fled and all of that. They're not equipped, okay, at all. And they're not trained at all. They're just thrown into this meat grinder where 100,000 of their brothers and sisters have died, right? And they're looking at the same outcome, all right? So, also they're not being paid. Their paychecks haven't been showing up, unfortunately for them. And a lot of things, right? And they just don't agree with what they're doing. So, all it would take would be one, artillery operator to change his aim a little bit just to get it over with. To trigger Article 5. What we saw today, that could have been what happened. I don't know that. I'm not telling you that's what happened. Nobody knows. But it could have been. I feel so this was it was about 62 miles as the crow flies away from the alleged target of Lviv in Ukraine. That's a pretty big distance, I feel, for an accident necessarily. I mean, it's possible. It's definitely possible. They're very incompetent. But I also think it's just as likely that an individual Russian soldier thought, hey, I'm going to go anyways. This war is going to take me. If it doesn't end, they're going to keep taking people I care about back home and bringing them here. We just got to stop it. And then I have the power to stop it just by changing the aim. Maybe that's what they did. And it doesn't change the whole situation at all. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't. But I think that would be an interesting thing to know if that's what actually took place today. I don't know that we could ever prove that. But in terms of Russia's already denying this. Okay? However, they don't have a leg to stand on. The whole world has satellites watching Ukraine and Poland and Europe 24/7. So while that's classified or whatever, it's on video by multiple sources that can collaborate each other, both private companies and governments, okay? Including people like the Chinese government who have no reason to lie for us, okay? All of these people have 100% documented evidence that we don't happen to have, right? How long have you been a Republican? I'm not a Republican. I don't get put in boxes. I'm independent. And don't anyone ever try to put me in a box. You'll be wrong. It's don't believe Russian propaganda. Don't. They are the enemy. And if you are spouting their lies, well, you're not one of us anymore. You're a traitor and you become the enemy, as far as I'm concerned at this point. All right? This is about our survival. Okay? This is about patriotism. This is about our way of life. And it's also about right and wrong. All right? It's time to grow the fuck up, people. Stop bickering amongst yourselves, and be a fucking American again if that's what you are. Okay? And don't you dare call yourself a patriot while spouting our enemies' lies also. Because as a real patriot, I take issue with that. All right? And I, hate our government, just like you do. But I love the propaganda I was taught about what the U.S. is supposed to be as a kid. Okay? As you were too. All right? That stuff that we were taught was never true. But it was the way it was supposed to be. It is on us to make it that way. That's why we're taught those things. But we don't do that, do we? We don't uphold our American ideals. All right? Well, it's time. Okay? It's time to be an American, to be a patriot. All right? And that doesn't mean you can't criticize people or the president or anything like that. But just remember, well, in any other situation or day, the U.S. government may be against you. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? So maybe you could apply that both ways. But at the end of the day, the U.S. government mostly wants you alive, going to work, paying taxes, voting for who they tell you to vote for, and being a good little bitch boy citizen, okay? That's what they want. What Russia wants is for you to be... They don't care about you, basically. They want what they want for them at any cost to you, okay? So whatever issues you have with the U.S. government, all right, that's separate from this. That's completely separate. It doesn't mean you should rush to a worse government, does it? It breaks my fucking heart, honestly, to see so many of my compatriots. And it's gotten better. Don't get me wrong. Earlier in the invasion, it was worse, and a lot of these people were forced to wake the fuck up, I think. Okay? But it's still around. It's still around. And I share in your anger and frustration with the way things are in our government and the politicians and all that shit, okay? You know that. You know that about me. But I see a bigger picture right now. There are battles that need to be fought right now in front of you, and there are battles for tomorrow. If we get that. Because if we don't fight this battle with everything we got, and if we don't win, there won't be a tomorrow. You're never going to fix the bullshit you've been divided about anyways at that point, will you? If we're all radioactive ash. Well, you guys, I'm hopefully going to be fine in here. But I don't want the world to end, really. You know what I mean? I think it will. I think we're going to go to this point one way or another, whether it's today or tomorrow. But I don't want that. I don't want people to have bad experiences and outcomes in the world, and for us to not be able to do all the cool stuff we do, like go to space. So let's fight with each other later, guys. When this war really gets to our doorstep, and it's almost here, you can see it coming down the fucking driveway, okay? Let's stand together or die alone in our echo chambers. I don't care what your politics are. Stop. Grow up. End of the day, you're fucking manipulated by the media, whatever your politics are. You're manipulated by the media into hating another American, a group of Americans who are really more like you than the person you're tricked into voting for is. Okay? The most polarly opposed person to you politically in terms of their life. Okay, their life experience, their social economic status, okay, the things they care about ultimately, except for the things that the media highlights for you in order to divide you, to keep you from having the power that you actually have, except for those couple of things that they highlight, you agree. You're Americans with very similar life experiences. People, stop. Grow up. I don't have time for your little childish shit anymore, all right? This is about thousands of years of human history about to get wiped away because you guys cannot grow up and control yourself and not be controlled by people who just want to enslave you. Okay? So think about that. Next time you demonize your fucking neighbor because the media told you to. And your media isn't as independent as you might think it is, by the way, people. I don't know an example of a media that isn't controlled by something, because they all make money, meaning they can be bought. And they have been, because there's a huge motivation to fucking control you and make you hate your neighbor. Read the Bible. Love your neighbor. You were warned and instructed not to fall for this shit. Yeah, we all seem to be. Okay? Be an American right now. All right? Be an American. Don't believe Russian propaganda. And remember another thing too. Propaganda for your side is a good thing. Victory Gardens. That was a good piece of propaganda. We can do it. Wendy the Welder. Great propaganda. Okay? That's what it was. That was good. Somebody just said, chill out. Guys, World War III is on our doorstep. Article 4 has been enacted by Poland and NATO, and they're discussing enacting Article 5, which is World War III. And if they don't do it today, it will encourage a future need to do it. Okay? And so that's why I'm sick of it. You don't have time. I don't have time to put up with your childish games anymore. Okay? You play into their hand. And remember this too. The Russian people are way more like you. Just like we were saying, the Russian people are way more like you than you are like our leaders, or they are like their leaders. This isn't the Russian people's fault. They're against this. Okay? Some of the Russian soldiers have done bad things, but the Russian people at large are innocent in this. They're the same as you. But if it's us or them, I have one decision to make if I was in charge. Two. Don't get that wrong. Just like that's their responsibility to make for themselves too. Anyways, if you want my full assessment about what's going on as far as what we know now, is written up on my blog on prepzone.org. Scroll down the homepage. Let me catch my breath for a second. I'm sorry, it's just ridiculous. It's just pent up because it's been ridiculous for so long. Okay? I want us to win and to survive. And we can't do that the way you guys have been acting. We can't. You know what's funny too? Is I just came off of a week-long ban, which was for no reason. And I have plenty of documentation I've shared on places where I was able to post about that, by the way. But just trust me, for no reason. Okay, it's provable. That's happened before when the invasion first happened for a week. And I couldn't comment, couldn't post, couldn't change my profile or do anything. And I said at the start of this, when I first started the ban a week ago, first of all, it was the day of midterm elections, second of all, which I thought maybe that's the big thing. But I also said something big's about to happen. And then literally the last day of my ban, this happened. And getting the information out to you guys was delayed because of it. Thankfully, it happened at the end of the ban and not at the beginning, you know. But that's why you need to follow me on the other platforms, guys, because I don't ever get taken down on anything other than here, because this is controlled by one of our enemies, okay? The only reason I'm here is because of you, because this is where you are. Probably because you make a bad decision to primarily use this, because again, it's our enemy, but you're here, and I'm here for you. You understand? Prepzone.org is here for you. I should be getting a little bit more prepped. You know, the local prepper put out a video today saying he's taking a week off. He's taking a week off so he can focus on prepping instead of focus on helping you. All right? But here I am. Okay? And no fault to him. That's smart. That's probably what I should do. But I promised you I'd be here for you till I couldn't be. And like last week, couldn't be. They took it away, but I'm back immediately. Got unbanned like an hour or two ago. Okay? Thanks for the likes, everybody, and the follows as well. I mean, the concrete and earth would do a lot. Somebody asked what the plywood. This is a shelf with solar panels on top of it. And then there's a bunch of shielding and stuff. And then, like, a ceiling. And there's cinder blocks and concrete and dirt. Like, don't assume you can see everything, you know. I'll be fine through all this. I have a bunker that I've built. Because I've been telling you guys for 2 years or more that this has been coming. Right? Somebody asked, why would you want to survive nuclear war? Why do you want to survive any given day of your life, friend? You know, is everything that you enjoy about life solely about our greater society? Or do you love your family? Do you love spending time with your family? Do you love watching Rick and Morty, right? Or whatever you like. Do you love playing Xbox or something, right? Or what have you? Or volleyball. I could still do all that in my bunker after you guys are dead, you know, from the war, if you didn't get prepared. I'll be safe, okay? I'll be well fed, just chock full of food, water, medicine, okay? Everything I need. Which, by the way, if you guys want to get prescription antibiotics, go to my website, big button. They'll get prescribed to you by a doctor and sent to your house. Get them. Get them. I have a kit right here. I can't show you the bottle because they have my information on it, but yeah, it's on my site, but like doxycycline, these are all antibiotics. Metoprolol, doxycycline, amoxiclav, Cipro, Ristomycin, a large amount, and it's like I think it's a couple $100 or something like that. Well worth it for you know, multiple people, multiple illnesses worth of antibiotics, like prescription from a doctor prescribed. It's like a telehealth thing, and they give it to you ahead of time. Get it. Prepzone.org. It's like the second button on the page. Get it. And so happy. I got mine for free just because I'm putting that link out there, which I would have bought it. I would have paid way more than it was worth. I might buy another one in the future. But that's a lot. It's a lot. It's more than I need for a long time. Do you want any Second Amendments? Check out my YouTube. Check out my YouTube is your answer there. A lot. Actually. Yeah, so why do you want to survive the end of the world? Why do you want to survive any given day? A bed? There's a bed next to me here, and there's a bed behind me. Me and my wife, we're going to be in here. One thing I did as soon as I started hearing about this is I got a bunch of stuff that like I've had around my house that when the EMP comes, which is probably what they're going to do. If they do if Russia does a preemptive strike once their espionage tells them what NATO's about to do, once NATO decides, it could be an EMP, which means the electronics will be fried unless you have shielding and underground like I am, which people make fun of me, say I'm like tinfoil hat man. No, I just understand science. Okay, and WMDs and stuff, because I study this stuff, and I've been doing this for 15 plus years. Not crazy at all. Like, this is science, all right? What do you think, Wilson? Wilson, I'm sorry! But anyway, so like my chainsaw, for example. There's computer chips in this, you know, electronic. This is in my garage. I would like to still have my chainsaw function after the apocalypse, so now it's in here, because I think that... the apocalypse is here. It's the World War III could be while I'm asleep tonight, you know, or it could be a few weeks from now. It just depends on what decisions are made right now. If people are sitting around tables right now deciding the fate of the entire world. Do you understand that? Like, the most important conversation potentially that has ever happened in all of humanity's history is happening right now. They're deciding the future of the human race in Europe right now around a table. Nuclear war, World War III, today or later is the decision. Thanks for people writing prepzone.org in there. It's a cool site. It's good to be back, guys, by the way, from the band. They silenced me, so I couldn't tell you this stuff ahead of time until it happened, by the way. But I'm here. Now that it's happened, they let me come back. All right? I'm happy to be here. I told you I'd be here with you till the end. You're not scared? Well, how are you sweating from talking? You must have missed earlier when I was basically screaming because I got really worked up, you know? But, that's why I was a little sweaty. Also, I have the option to pump HVAC into here, but I have that completely shut off because it doesn't need it because it's underground. However, you notice how well insulated it is? So like earth and concrete, but then also reflective, you know? So my body heat over time gets it a little toasty, not ever like dangerous or like too uncomfortable, but like warm, you know, over time being in here. This is the most comfortable room I own. You know, in my whole house, it's freezing right now. This is cozy, you know. I'm also wearing a coat in here, which probably I don't need to, but I actually I took this coat out of storage basically today because of the weather. And I like this coat, so. Yeah, so I brought like my chainsaw down here. I had an extra CPAP. I just got a new one. I already have one down here, but I brought one of those, which whether you have sleep apnea or not, amazing medical device, especially if somebody's having respiratory issues. Throw that on them, help them do a little of work for them or what have you. I brought one of my Nintendo DS's down here, all my DS games, because I had that up there playing it. I already have every Xbox 360 game ever made and PlayStation, all these other things down here, but I got the handheld too. Hopefully they don't hit us with an EMP or I get some warning so I can get my switches down here. Someone said, please recap. I probably will do a quick recap here, but make sure you go to prepzone.org and I wrote it. It's there on the blog. Scroll down on the homepage on prepzone.org. Prep Poppy's almost daily blog, which is like once every few months sometimes. But if you guys actually go read this stuff, I'll write more. It's just that, I got to see you guys engaging with it to do it, or if it's like super important, and this is one of those situations where it's super important. So I'm making sure you guys know about it. You guys want to see this at 360 real quick? Actually, I got it unplugged because I redid the electrical, but it makes R2D2 noise when I turn it on. Probably good to be unplugged, actually. That makes me think, actually. I might need to do something. So, let me set this down. I'll show you something. So, this is new-ish, but this is the primary backup power. This is like the power station area, but primary backup power. This is inverter. And then over here is a big-ass battery, right? Now, that's fully ready to go. I can power whatever I need to in here off of that. Or, like all my portable ones. And I have all the renewable and generators and all fun stuff too. But I was just thinking, most of the time, like we're on the grid right now because I don't need to waste my batteries. And I don't use renewables unnecessarily. Why? Because batteries have a set number of cycles they go through before they go bad. So if you're using them when you don't need to, you're wasting money. All right, keep them charged. Okay, so I'm on the grid currently. I don't have to be. I am. I'm thinking if I am worried that EMP is likely, maybe I should shut off the grid to the bunker, maybe overnight. The problem is I do have a freezer, which I could plug into this overnight, but then I'm tapping into my power right before I might need it. So, but check this out. So, because this is packed to the brim with frozen food, not everything in here is shelf stable, but everything like this, these yellow things are. These are perfectly shelf stable. I have them frozen because that means that the countdown on them expiring on the shelf is frozen too. So once the power goes out, these will have the maximum shelf life without refrigeration doing this method. But also, all of this ice being cold in here, when the power goes out, this will stay frozen for days and days, okay? These are like ice packs at this point. And I do have some ice packs in here too. And my seeds and my wedding cake and a bunch of stuff. So I can unplug this, right? And it would be fine overnight and for days if I want to. But I'm gonna leave it plugged in probably, at least the freezer, because I'm not really planning on using that as a freezer after shit hits the fan. Honestly, that is hardcover and barricade if need be. And a number, it has uses. It's gonna have uses that aren't fridge freezer. Not being mean, but is extra weight a concern? No. Think about it. Give it a thought. Look where I'm at. Now, in here, there's buckets all up under there. There's buckets all up under there. All kinds of food over there. Fridge, freezer. There is like a ton of food in this room, in this bunker, okay? Split between two people. Now, imagine a really skinny, physically fit person and I are the two people in here, okay? We ration our food, right? Who's living longer? Who's starving first? It ain't me. It is me. I also understand that. Here's a tip. When you are in starvation mode, you want to save your sugary food for the end. Why is that? Well, because your body will break down muscle and fat into fuel to keep you alive when you're in a starvation mode. But what it can't get from that is enough glucose. And so your heart and your brain need glucose to work. When you die of starvation, you die of a heart attack, actually, because you don't have the right nutrients getting to your heart. So the last thing I'll be eating, if I'm stuck in here for a super long time, glucose, baby. You know what I'm saying? Glucose, baby. Sugar. All right, and I got other, fruit and stuff too that do it. That's just a fun example. But you get what I'm saying. So, because of my knowledge and because I have more of that body fat, which I can supplement with the one thing I'll be missing, which is sugar, my starvation likelihood is very, very low because of being overweight. Also, I just enjoy eating, and I enjoy not wasting time exercising. When I do exercise, I'm doing work. Okay, I'm working on something I want done. I don't just make repetitive movements with a bunch of half-dressed, sweaty dudes around me. That's just not my bag, to be honest. But I'm very strong. You guys should see go find my calves on some of my videos where I'm wearing shorts and tell me you don't want to get donkey kicked by me. Okay, I'll tell you that much right now. All right, but it doesn't matter also because Second Amendment. All right, and it also doesn't matter because I ain't running from shit. Okay, don't come find me. If you do, it's one of our last day at that point in the apocalypse, right? If it's mine, I'm not going to care anymore. If it's yours, I'm going to keep going, I love you. Don't make me do that to you. Don't come here, all right? But hopefully the idea is looters or anybody that you might think I need to be in super fitness to deal with won't even know I exist or my stuff, okay? That's the plan, all right? If they do, we'll deal with it, okay? Nothing else, I'm going to have home field advantage, and I'm going to have traps. I'm going to have everything I need. I'm also going to have information, okay? All the information I need. I'm going to see them coming. I'm going to see them coming from any direction. Well, I'm going to leave that hooked up, but we got the monitor. We got the cameras. Again, I can just take the plug off the grid and plug her in. All of it works. I'll know, okay? And there's a lot of stuff. Most of my actual security measures, I do not share on here because it's smart. I would love to share more tips with you about things you can do, but I gotta draw the line somewhere on what compromises me and my family's security too much. I already take it too far by helping you as much as I do. I really do. Okay. People call me a fearmonger. Do I got a big reason to be afraid? Do you think? You think I'm afraid of starving to death or I don't know, whatever could happen, What's going on here? Looks like fell. Hold on. Got some of my gear here. Yep, there we go. So I got nothing to be afraid of. I really don't. Like I said, box full of prescription antibiotics, food, power tools, hardware, generators, vehicles, gas, propane, entertainment, thousands and thousands of hours of popular TV shows, movies, complete series. Some of it I've seen, some of it I haven't. Every Xbox 360 game ever made, a bunch of PS3 games, a ridiculous amount of DVDs. There's DVDs down there too, all EMP shielded. Okay, 2 Nintendo Switches and a ton of games and a bunch of downloaded stuff and PCs, and I'm gonna have a great time. I already have a great time. It's not gonna be that much different, except for I won't be as free, I guess, during the apocalypse. But not a lot's gonna change. As far as I pass my time, I won't be making TikToks, I guess, because there won't be internet. But that's really most of my day is doing internet stuff, I guess. But other than that, I'll just be vibing, and waiting for the fallout to die down. And I prepared. Preparation is the anti-fear. That's why it's so funny when people call me a fear mongerer. If you don't have somebody helping you get prepared and you don't do it, then you should be afraid, and you probably are. And people who call me a fearmonger are just projecting because they're very, very afraid and they can't handle it, so they deny it. Even though, like, guys, like, it's just right there. Like, it's just right in front of you now. Like, Article 4 has been declared. Article 5 is next. 4, then 5. You understand? It's not very high up in the number line. Like, you should be able to count to 5. I hope. If you're calling me a fearmonger, you might not be able to. But, like, someone said bow to Trump. You guys know Trump wouldn't necessarily survive. Because he's not, like, the president anymore. I don't care as much. Especially if there was a nuclear tsunami and he was, like, in Florida or something. But, maybe he'll get a heads up. But, he knows the guy. So, yeah, guys, I am not and also, like, it's good food. Like, are you guys gonna have nacho cheese after the apocalypse? Because I fucking will. Alright? You think you're gonna have candy? I will. You're gonna have some delicious Lux fried apples? I got cases of it. You know? Also, this food will last way longer than the year or so it's designed for, if it's all of it, if I can go outside. Because my whole yard is more plantain and dandelion than it is grass, and I have acres, you know? A bunch of oak trees that once a year will give me hundreds of pounds of acorn flour if I can fight off the squirrels or eat the squirrels. An acorn tree, a single adult acorn tree, can give you hundreds of pounds of flour every year if you process it. And you can make bread. Okay, so if the world ends, you got to use the resources that grow locally. And I find grains challenging to grow. As somebody who tries to grow stuff, grains are really challenging. Corn, it's fickle. Corn can die. It's more likely than my other plants to die. My corn didn't make it this year. I didn't do that much, but it didn't make it this year. And I've done it before when it has. But oak trees do great. They do great on their own. The only issue is that other animals will get the acorns before you, but you'll get some of them. Black walnuts, grapes, sassafras, like all of this is on my property, and more. And I can grow food. I have seed bank and everything. But so the idea of that is I can forage and supplement. So like if every day I have like, I don't know, you know, go forage out some greens and some stuff, and well, here's some beans and maybe some rice for some protein to go with it, and have a dang great meal. Like if you guys haven't had plantain, dandelion and stuff just from your yard, make sure you wash it because animals and stuff, but it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Very nutritious. You get vitamin C from dandelion too, in case you're running low on fruit, you don't want to get scurvy or something. Just eat you some dandelion. Whole dandelion plant is edible, by the way. Greens are probably the best part. Make a tea out of the roots. I have skills that pay the bills, so to speak, with this stuff, guys. People think that people just make shit up. Like some people like to say, oh, he's just a credit card prepper or whatever because he has one or two things. I walk the walk and talk the talk, and I show you. You know, not all the time. I have playlists, people. Playlist, okay? And I learn. It's a learning process. You get to come along with me on some of this stuff, all right? But I got skills. Outdoor skills. And I am highly trained to exercise my Second Amendment. I have qualified and outperformed against police officers at the range, okay? And taking classes. I am very good at that when I need to be as well. That's one example, okay? Camping, bushcraft, survival. I got it, guys. And also, things I don't got, I got a library. Okay, look at this. Bam. That's actually a cookbook. Bam. You know, need to fix shit. Bam. Need to learn about the universe. Bam. Need a woodworking. Bam. Need to negotiate. Bam. Fix it yourself manual. Back to basics. Okay? Look at that. Traditional American skills. Right? All of these are on prepzone.org if you want to pick them up from Amazon or whatever. But if you have time. You probably don't have time. But throw the order out there. Who cares? Not about me at this point. Like, yeah, affiliate links. But like, if the world's ending tomorrow, what the fuck do I care? It might not. Like I said, I hope we have time. I hope they take that kind of like sissy response like they have to this and like hold off. But eventually, that just gives Russia the go-ahead to do the next thing, which they'll force their hand. So I hope that happens. So we have more time, right? But so it's for your sake at this point. Like, I don't know how much time we have, but I don't think that money's super useful at this point for me. So, and I've always said this, by the way, if you just want, for no good reason, I guess, but if you want to look at the prep list and then not buy it from there and just get it somewhere else, feel free. Absolutely free. If you find a better price, sure. I mean, it's Amazon, right? So it's probably a pretty good price. If you want to just buy it from Amazon, not through my link, and give Jeff Bezos those few dollars instead of me, it's up to you too. But like I said, I don't see that money from Amazon for 90 days at least. I'm not sure we have 90 days. Okay, so I don't really care. But by all means, just in case, get it for yourself. But yeah, I know things. I'm smart enough to have the ability to learn things both in hard copy and digital, which I've also provided for my Patreons too, if you wanted to download some stuff. A lot of stuff, actually. But I don't know, guys. Again, for those who have just joined us late, make sure you're checking out prepzone.org because I have a written up assessment about what's going on with World War III right now. I don't believe at the time of writing that Article 4 had been declared yet, which is obviously new information given to you here on this live stream. And obviously that's the discussion. Article 4 is a discussion about declaring Article 5, basically. And it doesn't really change anything about my assessment because they kind of expected that this is where it's going with that. But there's definitely some estimations of what some next moves would be from Russia and so on and so forth. So make sure you're checking that out. It's 9 o'clock now. There's a chance that I'm going to come back later this evening. I may get some shut-eye because actually before all this happened, doing a little bit of procrastinating because one of my brake lines is leaking and I can still pop around, like I just make sure there's fluid in it, but I got the parts a couple days ago to fix it. I got the fairing tool and stuff, and the line, and it's been really bad weather, so I haven't done it. But tomorrow, rain or shine, probably I'm going to have to just, because of what's going on, get up there early and get the truck fixed. So might come back if I can't sleep or if something happens or I got to tell you something. So make sure you check it out. But go to prepzone.org and check out the write-up about it. And there's lots of good stuff to check out too. But so for now, I'm going to go get ready, maybe rest for a little bit. And then, like I said, get to work tomorrow, and I'll be with you on and off throughout that process, I'm sure. Like I said, I'll be here for you. Absolutely, I'll be here for you. If you guys have missed me in the last week, I've been posting on my alt, which is Luke from prepzone.org, by the way. Some of my recent videos in the comments, I linked and commented from it. So make sure you check that. Follow it anyways, because, guys, we're going to get permabanned. Okay? And I'm going to be moving to YouTube. And we're going to be doing lives probably mostly here from now on, by the way. Lives mostly here. They're safer. They're not just floating out there for me to get attacked on, And then maybe some videos here, some videos on Luke from prepzone.org account, and then like I normally do 10 or 15 videos a day, and I don't think I can do that any more safely on here without being destroyed. So I'll probably do the same amount of content or more, likely more, on YouTube, and do longer sideways content too, if you want, as well as the shorts and that kind of thing, which is good because I'm not stifled creatively on YouTube. Like I can't show you my Second Amendments right now. I'd go away immediately. You wouldn't see me. Like the live would end. Okay, as soon as I did that, within a few minutes. On YouTube, when you go to my YouTube page, the first one shows 4 of them, I think. The little preview, if you're a new person to my page, shows you 4 in a short. There's also, I posted one last night that features a revolver, and it is funny as hell, I think. So make sure you check that out. I think it's a really good one. It's like Defense Against the Dark Arts or something. Check that one out. It's a short, it's a minute or less. It might be a 15 seconds. So check that out it's Prepzone Rise on YouTube, but you can watch all my YouTube on prepzone.org. Just scroll down, it's embedded. I've built a great website. Okay. Okay. So it's after 9. My wife has to work tomorrow, unfortunately, which does have me concerned because she works at a hospital in a city, not a major city, but for the big city closest to us, a small city, but you know what I mean, that has hospitals, about less than 20 minutes away without gridlocked traffic or whatever. But I don't like it. I don't like when things are going on and she's not home. So, so she has to go to bed early because we both get up at 5. So, I'm gonna let you guys go. Much love to you. Prepzone.org for more, please, and get prepared. And if I don't see you again, if something happens overnight, may the odds be ever in your favor. I guess, because it's going to take a lot of luck for me, for you, for everybody. Because as prepared as you can be, you still need that luck. You need less luck than anybody else, but you still need some. And it's still going to happen to some people that were as prepared as anybody, including me. Could happen to me. I acknowledge that. It's all luck. But I wish you the best of luck. Wish you love. And when that knows, I encourage you to tell somebody that you love them before you go to bed today. Because you might not have a chance tomorrow. You really might not. So don't leave things unsaid right now, people. Take care of your business in every regard right now. And if you have time, make some good memories too that you can hold on to if things get hard and you're not making good ones for a while. So I love you. I'll miss you. And I'll be here for you till I can't anymore. Thanks.